Every December, we tell children to behave, to be good, to make the nice list, because if they don't, Santa won't visit. But what if the punishment is far worse than no gifts? What if, instead of candy and joy, they get chains, claws, screams in the night? Because not every Christmas spirit brings cheer. Some bring terror, and none are more feared than Krampus, the horned beast, the shadow of St. Nicholas, the nightmare of Alpine folklore. He doesn't ride a sleigh, he drags rusty chains, carries a sack, but not for toys, for children, the bad ones, the liars, the cruel. He doesn't give coal, he gives nightmares, and he's been doing it for centuries. While Christmas became commercial, Krampus stayed primal, ancient, terrifying. He comes not to forgive, but to punish. He doesn't wait for permission. He bursts through doors, with a roar, with hunger, with a message. Behave or be taken. So if you think Christmas is just lights and love, you haven't heard the bells of Krampus. This is no holiday tale. It's a warning. Because while good kids get Santa, the bad ones, they get something else. They get Krampus. You won't find him on greeting cards. He doesn't show up in snow globes. He's not soft or sweet or safe. Krampus is the echo of an older Christmas, a darker one. Before malls, before jingles, when winter was harsh, when spirits ruled the snow, he doesn't care about milk and cookies. He smells fear. He hears guilt. And when the cold wind howls outside your window, that's not just weather, that's a warning. Because Krampus walks where joy hides, where secrets fester, where the naughty think they've gotten away with it, but they never do. He always finds them. And when he does, it's too late for apologies, too late for promises. All that's left is the sound of rattling chains, and the knowledge that he's already here, waiting, watching, smiling beneath the mask of something ancient, something we forgot, something that never forgot us. Krampus didn't come from Hollywood, he came from the mountains, from snow-covered villages in Austria, Germany, and beyond. He was whispered about long before Christmas had carols. He's old, older than Santa, older than Christianity, born from pagan rituals, winter solstice fears, a spirit that punished when the world was cold, dark, and desperate. The name Krampus comes from the German word Krampen, meaning claw, and that's fitting, because he isn't kind. He's all horns, fur, and fury, a demon, or maybe a god, depending on who you ask. He walks on hooves. His tongue is long and red, his eyes glow, and in one hand, he carries birch sticks to beat the misbehaving. In the other, a sack or basket to drag them away, sometimes to scare, sometimes to eat, sometimes to toss into the flames of hell. Because Krampus isn't about balance, he's about consequence. While St. Nicholas gave gifts, Krampus gave nightmares. They traveled together on December 5th. Krampusnacht, one rewarding, one punishing, a divine partnership of light and shadow. And the people, they welcomed both. They feared Krampus, but they respected him. He was part of the order, part of the mythos, a lesson made flesh. Behave or bleed, repent or be taken. That was Krampus. Not evil, not good, just inevitable. He became more than a story. He became tradition. Villages held parades, Krampuslauf, the Krampus Run. Men dressed as the beast, covered in fur, wearing masks of wood and leather, dragging chains through the streets, chasing children, startling crowds, and beneath the fear, laughter, because Krampus wasn't just horror, he was release, a way to purge guilt, to acknowledge darkness during a season of light. He reminded people that consequences mattered, that not all sins are forgiven by carols and cocoa, that some acts leave marks, and that sometimes you don't get coal, you get hunted. These rituals kept him alive, from generation to generation, even when the church tried to suppress him, even when modernity tried to forget. Krampus endured, in legends, in costumes, in cold December air that seemed just a little sharper after sunset. Because myths don't die, especially the ones that make you look over your shoulder, especially the ones that rattle chains at your door, especially the ones that wait. Krampus doesn't knock, he bursts in. On Krampusnacht, the night before St. Nicholas Day, he walks the streets, sometimes alone, sometimes in packs, sometimes right behind Santa, but his job is clear: punish the wicked. And he knows who they are. He doesn't check lists. He smells guilt. He hears lies. He feels the weight of broken promises. Children who steal, who bully, who lie and cheat, they're marked, and Krampus comes for them. With chains that clatter like thunder, with bells that announce the storm, he lashes them with birch branches, switches soaked in fear. Sometimes he just scares them, lets the lesson sink in. Sometimes he takes them, stuffed into his sack, dragged away screaming, to the mountains, to the forests, to wherever the bad go when good has failed them. Some say he eats them, others say he drowns them, or drops them into a fiery pit. The truth is worse. He doesn't kill them. He shows them what they could become. He makes them face their own reflection. And that's a fate far crueler than death. Because Krampus isn't a killer. He's a mirror. And what you see in his eyes is yourself, your choices, your darkness. He doesn't speak, but his silence screams louder than words. He appears in dreams before he comes in chains. He warns. Then he waits. And when the child doesn't listen, that's when the claws come. Parents used him as a threat. Clean your room, or Krampus will come. But for some kids, it wasn't just a bedtime story. It was real. The cold breath in the dark. The jingle of a bell with no source. The shadow by the window, too tall to be human. That was Krampus, teaching lessons the hard way. He doesn't believe in second chances. He believes in balance. For every gift, a punishment. For every miracle, a reckoning. And the worst part? He enjoys it, not sadistically, but purposefully. Because punishment in his eyes is justice, and justice is never gentle. So if you feel the air turn heavy on December 5th, if you hear hooves on rooftops but no sleigh, if the fire dims and the bells grow loud, don't run, don't scream. Just ask yourself, were you good this year? Because if not, he's already here. Santa gives, Krampus takes. One offers joy, the other brings fear. But together, they complete each other. For centuries, they traveled side by side, two halves of one truth. That every action has a consequence. St. Nicholas was mercy, Krampus was justice. Santa brought gifts to the good. Krampus punished the bad. They weren't enemies, they were balance, light and shadow, hope and warning. But as time passed, people chose the light. They wanted only joy, only songs and sugar. And so Krampus was buried, forgotten, pushed into the shadows. Santa became global, marketed, tamed, while Krampus became myth, or worse, mockery. But legends don't die, especially not ones born of fear. And now, Krampus is returning, in movies, in art, in December festivals that feel more ancient than modern. Because deep down, we know the truth. Joy means more when fear exists. Gifts mean more when earned. And light is only beautiful because darkness still waits. Krampus doesn't hate Santa. He's his shadow. And you can't erase a shadow, not without killing the light. So remember, when you hang stockings and sip hot cocoa, there's something older watching. Older than reindeer. Older than carols. And he's not smiling. He waits in the corners of Christmas, behind the glowing lights, beneath the laughter, in every flicker of candlelight. Krampus stands unseen, because joy without fear becomes hollow. And children raised without consequence forget respect, forget wonder. Krampus exists to remind, to restore the edge to a holiday softened by comfort, not to destroy it, but to protect its meaning. Because Christmas didn't start with jingles, it started with survival, with cold, with the desperate hope for warmth. And Krampus was there, not as the enemy, but as the enforcer, to say, this season is sacred. Treat it well, or it will turn on you. So when you think of Santa, don't forget his twin, his shadow, the horned one who sees what others pretend not to. Because in the silence between sleigh bells, Krampus breathes, and he remembers every name. Krampus is back. Not in whispers, in headlines, in horror films, in parades that block off whole cities. The world tried to forget him. But fear is patient, and now he's everywhere, on greeting cards, snarling, on sweaters, grinning, in movies, hunting. What was once taboo is now tradition. Krampus love festivals are growing. Thousands of people, wearing horns, carrying chains, celebrating the beast, not because they want to be punished, but because they understand the need for him. In a world of instant rewards and empty apologies, Krampus is the consequence. He reminds us that fear has value, that darkness has purpose, and that stories shape us, even the scary ones, especially the scary ones, because Krampus is more than folklore. He's a symbol of forgotten lessons, of ancient warnings, of the truth that December has two faces, and one of them still snarls. He's no longer hidden, he's being embraced. Artists paint him, writers explore him, fans dress like him every winter, not to glorify terror, but to connect to something older, to something real, because the modern world is noisy, plastic, safe on the surface, but beneath, we still fear. We still need reminders that behavior matters. The choices echo. Krampus is that echo. He's not just the punisher of children, he's the punisher of arrogance, of carelessness. He brings weight to a season that's become weightless, and people are listening, not because they crave violence, but because they crave meaning. And Krampus? He's meaning wrapped in fur and fire. A reminder that even during the happiest time of year, there's room for darkness. And without it, the light means nothing. Krampus is no myth. He's memory. He's warning. He's the side of Christmas that never got a movie special. Until now. And maybe that's why he survived. Because he speaks to something deeper. Something darker. The part of us that knows not all endings are happy. Not all holidays are safe. That there's power in fear. Purpose in punishment. Krampus was never meant to replace Santa. He was meant to remind us. To behave. To reflect. To fear. Just enough. Enough to think before we act. Enough to treat others with care. Because the bells of Krampus don't just jingle, they judge. And this December, they're ringing again. So light the fire, say your prayers, and hope your name isn't on the other list, because Krampus is coming, and he never forgets. If this tale chilled your spine and twisted your holiday cheer, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Would you survive Krampusnacht? And remember, Christmas has two faces. One smiles, the other bears horns. He walks beside every tradition, in the quiet between carols, in the flicker behind the tree lights, in the dreams we try to forget. And he waits for the moment we slip, for the moment we think no one's watching. That's when the door creaks, the chains rattle, and the darkness laughs, because Krampus doesn't punish out of cruelty. He punishes because no one else dares. And in doing so, he preserves the meaning, the mystery, the cost. So while you're sipping cocoa, spare a thought for the horned one, because belief doesn't keep him away, only behavior does.